Welcome to Rose Connections. I am Janet Rose, and I want to just welcome you to 2021. 2020 was a not great year for many of us. It was a necessary wrecking ball that came through and exposed so much vulnerability hiding under the surface. We have had old ancestral wounds being demonstrated out in the open, and we are actively seeking to heal those things. And 2021 is going to be about rebuilding. It's going to be about renewal. It's going to be about renovating our lives so that we can inhabit this future that we are building with every single day together. And it's about recognizing that we're together in all of this. I've said this so many different ways, but I really believe that COVID was just our dress rehearsal for climate change. Climate change is real, just so you know, that's where I stand. Climate change is real, and it is a real consequence of our own collective inaction and action. And we have been challenged to work together to find a way through this. And if I were to grade us on this dress rehearsal performance, I'd give us maybe a D, because we have a long way to go toward accepting science, toward working together, toward making sacrifices, small sacrifices in the immediate, sacrifices of our immediate comforts in order to invest in our future selves. And that's something that is uniquely problematic with the world that we live in right now, is that while prior generations have known, I've got to tighten my belt and I've got to do this, we have so many means by which people can avoid taking responsibility for the collective well-being of one another. We have a lot of places that people can hide out. They can hide out in sports instead of watching, the special on sex trafficking. They can hide out at the movies instead of confronting their alcoholism. They can all of us can hide that thing that we need to give up in the immediate so that we can see the longer term solutions. And so today I just wanted to talk about radical reflections as regard to resolutions, resolutions for the new year. And I realized as I was sitting down to write out my goals, and I taught SMART goals, I teach SMART goals, and, stuff that is sustainable, stuff that's measurable, stuff that is realistic. And I believe in that, but those are your tasks. Overall, I think in 2021, because we had a wrecking ball come through and expose all these vulnerabilities within these systems that were built on the backs of racism or colonialism, ableism is such a huge factor right now. And we need to confront it, and we need to confront that ugly past. And we need to confront the ways in which we still perpetuate that ugly past in our present everyday situations. So I realized as I was writing these things out that I don't want things. I just want people to care. And I want to be part of making a world where people care, where they care about each other. And I've said this a couple of times this week. I really just want to be able to take my glasses and put them on your face and have you see the world through my eyes for just a minute, for just a heartbeat, to understand the beauty and the immense oneness that we share. that I try to honor each and every day with my words and my actions. So, one of the things that I suggest for the coming year as we are rebuilding is focus less on those SMART goals, those tasks. The tangible, I want to lose 20 pounds by, the end of the year. That's all well and good, but why do you want to lose those 20 pounds? Why 20 pounds? Why not 18 pounds? Why not 34 pounds? What is that going to do for you that maybe isn't so tied to a stigmatizing, fat phobic mentality? What is 20 pounds going to do that 15 pounds wasn't going to do, that 48 pounds wasn't going to do? How do you want to feel in your body? And how do you want your world to be reflective of the values that you bring into that? What are the values driving that choice? So I want to invite us to go just a little bit deeper than we normally would with our resolutions. So for me, I have my own things that I'm working on. One of those is gratitude. Another of those is not standing in my own way. But here are the three that I think are going to be useful for heart-centered leaders in the coming year. First of all is eliminate the influence of shame. We can't right now eliminate the influence of shame out in the rest of the world. But we can do two things this year to eliminate shame in our lives. We can eliminate the shame that we repeat, and we can eliminate the shame that we absorb. And the first one should be obvious. Making a choice not to shame someone for a failure. And while I have plenty of examples of that, I think, one of the ones that I used to see very, very often in the work that I did is someone with who's just having a bad mental health day. They're being asked a question, but they were kind of zoning out because they're so worried about these other 20 things in their life. And so they didn't answer the question. And then they get shamed for, well, you never listened to me. And it's just like this assumption. And it's not because they didn't want to listen to you. It's because their brain was already being used by all of these other things. So instead of the shaming comment, and maybe that's not even the best example of a shaming comment, it was kind of one for me, because I hate it when someone says that. But instead say, hey, are you here with me right now? Like, just come on back. Like, you have an option in how you choose to communicate with somebody. Likewise, the shame that we absorb, how many times do we do something because we feel like we are being shamed into it? A really, shame, coercion, all of that are all kind of at the same ball of wax as far as I'm concerned. But how often are we creating our goals out of a sense of shame for something? I won't spend it as much money this year because I spent way too much money last year, and you start in on that sort of panic of someone's going to tell me I was a bad person for doing this. So I'm going to make my resolutions about not being a bad person. That's a judgment. That is shame that we are absorbing into judgments and internalizing and making way more important than they need to be. So even if we can't eliminate the shame that other people share out in the rest of the world, if we're not adding to it, and if we are putting up some blockers to being able to absorb it, our lives and our year is going to be a little better just from that. Next, allow yourself to ask for help. It's so hard. But in a post-COVID world, and we're not even in a post-COVID world yet, but in a post-COVID world, as we are rebuilding our economy, as we are really reintegrating how we look at education and what we value with education, everything is going to be very much like picking apart those aspects of our lives that are too much. Like, our systems collapsed for a reason. Is they were built on unsturdy ground to begin with. And so our own personal lives have all been through that too. My husband and I have started really embarking on a lot of stuff at the house that is just like, why do we hang on to this? And so I just made a video earlier today where I very literally asked for help on certain things out in my world. And you know what? I'm putting it out there. It's vulnerable. It's not easy for me to ask for help because I'm so damn proud of being able to do things on my own and execute my own ideas. But holy God, I have so much I want to do. And there's only one Janet. And the last time that I spread myself too thin, I almost lost myself. So this year I am going to ask for help, and I'm going to let people help me this year. And that's really hard. And I'm going to delegate things. And because I recognize that my success is also someone else's success, and someone else's success contributes to mine. And so I ask for help when I need it instead of burrowing further into myself, into my separation. I recognize that that oneness, that me rising up, is other people rising up too. And me, all of us coming up together. Finally, recognizing that asking for help is super vulnerable and that all of us are vulnerable right now. We are vulnerable emotionally, socially, definitely, economically, quite often. And recognizing that vulnerability in someone else, and that, hey, this thing I might say to them might actually impact them. Starting to honor that vulnerability, that nod of the head. It's like, I see you. You've been through some stuff, and I've been through some stuff too. And man, I may not know your stuff, but I respect what you've been through. If we can start looking at each other through those eyes of, man, we've all been through something horrific together. And I just want to acknowledge that you're still here. Yay. I'm so proud of that. And how asking for help makes us feel even more vulnerable. But that is exactly what is going to build this community. And that is exactly what is going to build a more loving and sustainable world. Because if we start understanding the vulnerabilities that all of us have, we start making different choices. We start watching our words a little bit, and we start respecting that person's truth. And when we respect someone else's truth, we make room for ours to be respected. And for me, all of this is interconnected. So for these radical reflections for the month, and each month I am going to walk through one lesson in each of these categories. So you're going to get a radical reflections, you're going to get a relationship reboot, you're going to get a radiant resilience, and at the end of the month I'm going to send out a newsletter with links to all of these. And then maybe I'll do one extra video every month on just some topic that really matters to me. Or maybe it'll be someone that I'm interviewing. Anyway, so for radical reflections for this month, think about the values and how you want how you move in the world to be a statement about your values and about the values of the world that you are intent on creating. Be a heart-centered leader for yourself first, and lead with your heart first. And recognize the core values that are driving what you want. Instead of keeping up with everything that has happened in the past, of, all those goals that seem to have mattered in the past, start investing in your future self. Start investing in the small choices that you can make today to make that person who is alive at the end of the year look radically different and radiant and alive with purpose and ready to rebuild this world. So thank you so much. I have a few new videos that I've done. I did a winter solstice reading. I do tarot readings. I'm going to be adding that as a service, just for folks that want that as a self-reflective tool. So expect to see more from me. I actually have another video on this channel just about the updates. So I will put that up and hopefully we can find a way to work together. So thank you so much for being here. Have a blessed, wonderful, brilliantly bright new year. Take care.